What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Today is Best Served Podcast 270, and we're talking rethinking menus to websites, our marketing communication tools. Of course, this is Best Served New Volume 1 with Meta Asian Kitchen, Episode 8 of 10. We are coming to the home stretch. It has been quite a journey. This channel is so important to me and to so many emerging entrepreneurs in this industry, because this industry is a fucking struggle. And any support that we can give each other, any information, any coaching expertise that we can bring to the table to allow entrepreneurs to focus on what they love to do is what we really are compelled to do. And so definitely check out the full series. Last week, great episode. We got to talk about investing in human capital, something you know is so important to me. And we were able to talk with Carrie Luxem, Restaurant HR Group, as well as Jordan Bush, the CEO and founder of 7 Shifts. And just ton of information, overwhelming, ton of information, very important. And then next episode, November 19th, after this, we'll be talking about your 4 walls. What that really means is that's an expanding idea in restaurants, and it's not exclusively the 4 walls of the restaurants we once imagined, what we're thinking about in real estate. So we'll get into that. As always, what we're really trying to do with Best Served is to dispel the notion of industry standards. You know, I love my air quotes. Industry standards are just an absolutely arcane system at this point. They do not serve the humans that actually work and toil in this industry and that are trying to develop their own visions, their own brands, their own companies. And so we really want to break those down and build them anew, because if the industry standards are what the model for success is, then 60% of restaurants closing in the first 12 months, or the numbers you hear me talk about all the time, 73% turnover rate, 56-day average tenure of employees. These notions cannot be an industry standard if we're trying to build an equitable, profitable, sustainable model. So that's what we're getting into. All right. Now that my rant is over, I want to bring Ken and Doris in. Good to see you both.
Morning.
Hello.
Can you believe this is episode 8? We've been at this for a minute.
It's flying by.
Yeah, it's flying by. Crazy times in restaurants right now. Crazy times always in restaurants. Just this is a new level of crazy for us. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the communication tool, because I think it's so much more important now than ever that you have the ability to communicate with your guests, with your audience, with your community. And that's being challenged all the time, especially through a pandemic, especially as literally we're in the moment where we're going back to shutdowns, back to phase 1, level 1, whatever the hell that these things are called. Yeah. Your ability to communicate becomes more and more important in this moment and coming out of these moments. So we want to really dig into that. As you're thinking about your menus, right now you're at Avanti Food Hall, so you have menu boards, and we're looking to get into brick and mortar. And so when you think about menus, let's just touch on that. Where do you go? Why is your menu organized the way it's organized? Give us a little touch points of your thinking there.
Well, the way we like to organize our menus is we kind of just started how like traditional ways of just, apps first, entrees next, and we keep our most popular item in the center. I think that's kind of like an easy way for, at least for our guests to kind of navigate the menu.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've actually been working on our menu. I watched like a bunch of like videos and did some reading on my own. And some of the videos basically told me to put our more expensive item to like the left corner first. So like customers see that and they're like, oh, this is expensive. But as they look, they're like, oh, actually it's not, like the food isn't that expensive.
Right.
So I put on our new menu, I didn't print it out yet. So I'm gonna wait till we do this episode first.
Right.
I put our combo meals first, and then I have our bao buns in the middle, which is like a very popular item. Then I have our apps, and then our rice and noodle entrees.
I think what we're talking about right now here is exact articulation. We don't know what the hell to do with our menus. Like, it's just like one person's telling you, all right, here's the eye scanning, and they look here, and then over here, and then over here, and you need to highlight and boxes and change colors, and all of these things are true. We get so caught up in the minutia of what we do and how we do it, and we forget about why and who, right? Why and who is always what I'm going to come back to. So why somebody would want to order this dish is the story that we need to tell. And we're doing that with the least amount of words, as simple as possible, in an organization that people understand. So that's what we're going to get into. So I want to bring in the one and only V. Yes, just V. I love it. Good to
Hey,
see
guys.
you as always, V.
You as well, Jensen. What's happening back at you?
I like it. All right. So executive director, everything food. You're out in LA. Also, you know, when we first interacted, you were running programs at the James Beard Foundation, just embedded in amplifying people. That's always what I've felt from you, and food as the medium to be able to do that and communicate that. And so we're going to dig into menu a little bit. You have a lot of ideas of the way that we can tell compelling stories and get people to spend more money, which we think is the right amount of money, right? Food is so commoditized in this country, and Ken and Doris have struggled with this. We're thinking about their dumplings, their chicken dumplings. We went through a whole process of understanding the chicken dumpling, the story, going through trying different flours as a medium. We're thinking about the food cost, all these different things, because we need to charge more money for that, to give them the financial freedom that they need, all of these things. And I want to throw a couple numbers at these because these always like just irk the shit out of me. I don't know what irk really means, but I don't know what else to say. In 2019, 37.4% of every US dollar spent was in a restaurant. And disposable income, we spend less money on food than any other industrialized nation in the world by percentage of our income, right? And even ours is dwindling less and less and less, right? In 1960, you can see 17% of our income was spent on food. Last year, 9.5%, right? So it's a huge struggle. And you look at the $2 dumpling, look, from New York, from Boston, Jersey, right? Like, we love the $2 dumplings in Chinatown. Like, I completely understand that. There's something iconic about them. Yet it's time for us to recognize that people need to be paying the value that you're putting into it. So it's a long rant again. I apologize, but it's important for people to understand that there's a lot of numbers holding us back from charging what we should be charging. So V, break it down for us. What do we need to think at a high level? And then let's talk about, I want to talk about the chicken dumplings specifically, how we can elevate that one dish to the price point that allows them the opportunity to do the test, the 2-week vacation test. Can Ken and Doris take a 2-week vacation and not worry about their restaurant? That's right. That's what we need to try and create. So break it down for us a little bit, V.
Yeah, absolutely. So I took some time to look at your menu and to look back at the past episodes that you guys were on, talking about the process that you have in creating this menu, putting these dishes together, the heart and the love that's in it. And I think one thing, if we're going to start at the absolute root of how you ended up with the pricing on the menu the way that it is, when we're chefs and cooks, one of the things we love to do is to share, and sharing often comes for free, right? We want people to eat this food. We want people to come. We want to share it with them. We want to make it accessible. And oftentimes that can be a part of how we devalue the work that went into producing this item. So when I heard you talking about the chicken dumpling, and when I looked on your menu, I got two different stories. When you talk about it, you're smiling. You're talking about the times that you went to New York. It's iconic. It's East Coast. You were using all these really descriptive words that took me as the diner on a journey where I really felt like I was sitting there. You know, I really could understand like the research that you put into bringing this to Denver. Like, and there's value in that. There's value in that expertise. And I think one thing that y'all can invest in more is yourself as experts, as storytellers, as providers of a New York experience outside of New York, in a sense, if that's part of what the sell is. So in that, I want you to trust your diner a little bit more as well when you're thinking about pricing the menu, or you're thinking about what words you want to use to sell that dish. People are online all the time. Everybody wants to be a food critic. Everybody's watching Food Network TV challenges, etc. They know more than we think that they do, so we don't have to baby them with it. We don't have to say something like homemade chicken dumpling. Folks are going to assume it's homemade. You can say iconic chicken dumpling or East Coast chicken dumpling. Something like that tells a little bit of a better story.
I love that. Hold on. Like, this is good.
I know, we're going to stop there.
V knows me well. I can't help but I got to jump in because I get fired up by this. This is exactly what we're talking about. Just that one word switch, homemade. We could have a whole episode about homemade. The fact that we have to distinguish that because the expectation in the market is that it's store-bought is a huge challenge for you all. So I appreciate that. Right. For you all, it's East Coast. Ooh, I love that. right? Hong Kong, where your family, I love that. Like we can make it specific to a place, to people, to a culture. That's much, much, much more powerful and relevant. And I think a super important thing to be thinking about. And it allows you the opportunity to not get caught up in how much it costs. It doesn't matter how much it costs at that point. I know V's going to get into that. It doesn't matter. You have sold them on a notion of them feeling that sense of belonging and camaraderie and sharing with you. That's what people pay for, right?
Exactly.
And V, you throw a word out there a lot I love, like adventure. People pay for adventure, and food can absolutely be a journey, be an adventure. So keep going. I love it. This is great.
It's exactly that. When we're pricing a menu, really think about what you're giving to them. It is physically a dumpling, but it is emotionally so much more than that. It's a story. It's an adventure. It's a unique experience. It's a step into someone else's culture. It's an activity. There's a lot to it more than just the physicality of the dumpling. And you can tell that story a little bit more. So if, let's say we took homemade chicken dumpling and now we call it iconic East Coast dumpling, right? Then within the paragraph beneath it, you can say, chef hand selected a locally milled flour to create the dough. Now we're like, oh, I'm seeing him making it. You know, I now know it's homemade. I didn't eat that in the front line. I'm part of the story. I'm thinking about what that feels like in his hands and like the work that went into this. Now I'm willing to pay more, right? And then you get into what those flavors are. Are they sweet? Are they salty? Are they spicy? What does that mean? And telling that story is what's important, because now we've completed the journey. So now we've said iconic East Coast dumpling. In the descriptor, we'll say the word chicken. I think it's probably less important to people if it's chicken or pork at that particular moment. They want to hear about that dough, about that story, about the work that went into it. They want to fantasize about watching somebody make them. That's what we're selling. We're selling that experience.
Yes. All right. So price point. This is something that we look at, and it's the market value of your offering. That's the utility of it, right? That is what price point is. And we get caught up in that, right? So for Ken and Doris, I want to ask you, is this your experience? You see the $2 dumpling and you're saying, how much more can we charge without people freaking out and going, what are you talking about? I paid $2 for dumplings, right? That feels like the experience for you, versus saying, what is the actual value of what we're doing, what we're selling, the story that we're telling, and that's the value somebody's willing to pay for the Hong Kong style dumpling, right? That's what we want to like try and sell them. So for you, is that your experience? Are you trying to find a way to stay close enough to the $2 dumpling where people don't lose their shit and get sticker shock and like say, nope, not for me?
I mean, we're not trying to stay close to the $2 dumpling price range. I do think that our dumplings are on the pricier end, but it is a very scary thing to try to sell our dumplings for $12. We do think about like, you know, the customers kind of freaking out, like, why am I paying $12 for dumplings? That's literally $3 a piece for 4. So definitely like we're stuck in that mindset of, you know, we can't charge too little, but can we charge more? Like, what are the people willing to pay?
Well, they're willing to go to Whole Foods and pay, I think, like $5 for a dumpling right now, right? So the market has shown that there is that perceived value in the market. So you can hearken to that. But I think the point that V's making, she's on fire, so I'll let them keep going, but is they're not buying the dumpling.
Right.
They're not buying a dumpling. They're buying Hong Kong. They're buying the East Coast. They're buying some Ken swagging in the kitchen, you know, with the wok. They're buying the wok. They're buying that experience. They're buying the experience that they can't get at Whole Foods. They can't have that experience there. Clearly, they're willing to pay money for that. So it's the experience in that. And so this brings a little bit from the menu itself, right? I think we have some really interesting ways to think about that. It's language. It's absolutely language, right? Finding your customer is something we've talked about multiple times, like, and potentially the person who wants the $2 dumpling may or may not be the person that you're looking for. So touch on that a little bit, the ability of the menu and the language to help you find your ideal customer as well.
Yeah, and also keep in mind the $2 dumpling that's happening in New York is happening at such a high volume. They're putting out thousands of them in a day, you know, and that's why that cost can go down, because by volume, they're able to achieve that. Whereas by volume, you have a different experience. It's not the same exact thing. So it costs a little bit more. It's also much more competitive to get that kind of dumpling in that area. So that changed their price. So considering the fact that you've done the research, picked the flour and brought it all the way back, like that's going to cost. And I think people understand that. I did a little extra research on sort of the other restaurants around your area as well. And there's some weird stuff out there, man. People are absolutely paying for an experience. If they're willing to go to a restaurant that used to be in a mortuary, or they're willing to go to like a unique beer garden to have a Germany experience, there is no way that those same people aren't willing to come to you to have a Hong Kong experience. They want that. They want to feel like they're in good company. They want to feel like they're at the top level of company, at the top level of food and beverage and experience. So I think you actually have more opportunity than you may have given yourself credit for in who those customers are going to be.
I love that. Yeah. Doris, Ken, thoughts on that? Do you think, look, we talked about soy sauce packets. Via, you may have picked up on that when you were doing background, but like they stopped giving soy sauce packets automatically because they are fully seasoning their food. And it became kind of a joke, like, try it as it is. And if you don't like it, I'll give you an extra soy sauce packet for free, like playing into kind of that jovial sense of giving them the final experience from the beginning, I think has been important. With that, though, do you think potentially, Ken and Doris, that you are underestimating the customer, or maybe not having found the right customers and figuring out how to communicate to them that you can amplify this? Do you feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect there for you?
I mean, I think it's a little tough for us to a certain extent, because we see a lot of different people that come through Avanti, and so it's really hard sometimes for us to kind of gauge where our customers are at. I mean, some people come in and they're I know all this about Sichuan food and this and that, and like they're like self-proclaimed experts on Chinese food, and that's cool, And then some people come in and they can't even say bao bun correctly. They call it a bao bun or something,
Right.
That's fine, and that's okay, Like if they don't know, then that's how they want to pronounce it. That's fine. And then we go, oh, so you want a bao bun, And so it's hard for us to kind of peg the customer and what they know, and so we just try to. I feel like we try to handhold a little bit, and make sure like regardless, like the customer is kind of like comfortable and stuff like that.
Yeah, we just assume that they don't know.
Yeah,
like that's how we start the conversation. We assume they don't know anything, and then we'll kind of talk them through the process of ordering. A lot of people, like Ken was saying, we see a lot of different people because Avanti is a big tourist attraction, so we get a lot of people who aren't, regulars. And then people coming from the Midwest, some people coming from the East Coast, West Coast. So it's hard to gauge. So we just assume that they don't know anything.
Well, and here's what's interesting from V, and I'll let you kind of as the last point jump in on this, is what we're talking about now is telling the Hong Kong story, the East Coast story, more importantly, your story. Because your story is only your story. Nobody else with a $2 or a $6 dumpling, doesn't matter, can sell your story. So if somebody's never heard of it, or they're a self-proclaimed expert, if you take them directly to, so my family, so our experience, so it gives you the opportunity to put them in a place where even if they think they know everyone about Sichuan, they don't know your experience of it. Even if they've never heard of anything, now you're telling them your experience of it versus telling them that they're wrong, or telling them that this is a better version, because a better version is completely subjective. The kind of last thought on that as a potential to, like, no matter where they're coming from, you're taking them to the same place, and that's your personal story. Thoughts?
Yep, exactly. And the idea that a lot of people are traveling in. I mean, I spend the most money when I'm on vacation. So I think you got an opportunity there with tourism. Some of the things that I just as final points on the menu as I was looking at it, you have an opportunity, if you're afraid to say, $12 for these dumplings, you can say $3 a piece, 4-piece minimum. People in your area are selling a chicken wing, like a garbage chicken wing, for $2 a piece. That's not competitive with what you're selling. And then considering changing some of the humble language around the food, which I know is a cultural experience, but if you're selling to Americans, you might want to be a little bit more flashy in a sense, or you're selling to tourists. Take the word small bites right off your menu. Just call it dim sum, call it bao buns. I think when you say small bites and then you say $12, that does trigger somebody's mentality to say like, ooh, I don't know about that, but I'll spend, $15 on tapas and get like one little sliver of ceviche, right? But they don't say small plates anymore now, they say tapas. So overall, I would say take a really good look at the language of your menu and recognize that you are coming at it from a very humble place, and you're not giving yourself the credit that you truly deserve for all of the work and love and experience that you're able to offer somebody. And know that folks are really willing to pay for that. They're willing to pay for a day in someone else's culture, especially when the product is going to be that high quality and delicious.
That's it. V, the best, the one and only. That's why your name is one letter. I love it.
Just one letter. We keep it real.
Absolutely love it.
And if
V,
you guys need any more help, of course, I'll always be here for you. You can reach back out to me. I can do menu reviews with you, whatever y'all need.
Thank you.
That's great. All right, V, have a good one. Appreciate you.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.
So language, right? Small bites. That was a huge one for me.
Yeah,
small bites equals small price.
Right.
How do you charge so much for a small bite? I think even that you're putting them in the mindset of an expectation that's counter to what's going to be valuable to you. So I think that's a huge important part. All right. I want to get into now website, as your physical menu is mostly consumed here, right? This is where people are looking at your menu. This is where they're doing their research ahead of time. This is where they're starting to do research on their journey. And so we need to really, really think about this. And we touched on the menu design elements. I think there's strength in that, and you can figure out what works best for you. I think more importantly, again, it's the storytelling. It's the language that we use. Yet now we're going into a very different medium. People consume differently here than they do if they're holding a paper menu, than they do if they're looking up at menu boards. And we need to be aware of that so that they have the best possible experience and we reduce friction in the process, right? So we want to really do that. So I want to bring in Jonathan Kim from Thumb Brand down in Texas. Jonathan, good to see you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
What's up, Jonathan?
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
You look all pro, man.
We got to do that, man. We stay current.
I like it. I'm going to just move my mic up so I look a little more pro too.
Awesome. I'm sorry.
Looking good. You're showing me up. I like it. I appreciate it. We're going to drop some knowledge on people. I think it's important. So one of the things that you and I connected on, and why I wanted to have you on, is because mobile first is the most important thing that restaurant operators need to be thinking about. And yes, when you design a website and you're on Squarespace or Wix, or you're building a WordPress site, here's the desktop, and then we shrink it down. Here's what it looks like on a tablet. We shrink it down. Here's what it looks like on mobile. Fine, your website looks okay on mobile. Mobile first is different. Mobile first is setting an expectation for the way that somebody's going to navigate your communication tool, which is your website. So set an expectation and understanding for us. Mobile first, when you're thinking about that, Jonathan, when you're coaching clients through that process, restaurant clients, what are we missing? What is the paradigm shift that you're needing to make? Because we're stuck in a paper menu or a desktop world and needing to move to a mobile first world.
That makes sense. That makes sense completely. One of the things that I would say that's very important for any type of website is the functionality of how that website works. So let's say, for instance, a website is a portfolio of your business, right? It's a showcase of your products or your foods, all the way to like kind of defining who you are as a business owner or what type of business you are. So that's basically branding in itself. But if you really dive deep into the user's interface, right, the way that a customer interacts with the website on the phone, it's 2020. Everybody has a cell phone. So I'm on here, I'm looking for food. I'm hungry. I'm just going to speak in a perspective as a consumer. Okay. So let's say I'm in the mood for some Asian food, and I'm like, all right, so I'm going to type in Asian food near me, and I'm near your vicinity. I'm near your vicinity at Meta Asian Kitchen. So I look through these search engine results, and I'm looking at these, right? Let's say next door you have a competitor and they have the same amount of reviews that you do, the same count, right? Then the next thing I'd look at is the pictures. So I'll look at the pictures and I'll see, which one looks even better to eat at? And then the third thing is I'll go into the websites after that. That's the third funnel, right? It's the reviews, it's the images, and then it's the website. So when I go into your website, I want to see a bunch of things that'll kind of get me at a peace of mind so that I do want to come and, support your business as a local consumer, right? So when I go on the mobile, right now there's a lot of things happening with the pandemic, right? So a lot of things that our companies are doing they're putting COVID notifications on the top of the menu headers, just to let their consumers know that, hey, we're a very responsible company, and this is what we're doing in-house for you as our customers to keep you safe and to make sure that our employees stay safe too. So just to have a little typed up letter on the header of your website, that's like a little black bar, COVID-19 notifications. Just have a little link, a URL that'll redirect to a new page, like from the CEO, right? And have a little digital signature on the bottom. It'll make it look super cool. So that's one of the things that I've seen lately, and it helps a lot of businesses because a lot of people now care about where they want to spend their money, who they want to support. But besides that, the functionality, right? A lot of restaurant owners go to like DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats. They take about 15 to 30%. Am I right? 15 to 30%. Now that's a lot of money. So I've done a basic calculation. I'm thinking like you guys are losing 20 to 25,000 if you sell like $100 like per like dish a day. And that's a lot of money. So why not divert that money into getting like an e-commerce website ready so you can have people order from your site to pick up at your restaurant, right? That way you save a lot of money in the long term. And, overall, like, I mean, it's good to get on Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber, in my perspective, in my opinion, because it's good SEO quality. Everybody knows who these companies are, right? And also, you don't have to hire a delivery driver. So yes, that saves costs on that. But if you had an alternative to have people directly, like, work on your site to order, the foods and then come and pick it up, that's another pretty cool option that I've worked with a lot lately.
Yeah, a couple things to unpack there, because I think this is an important part of what's happening right now, especially as we mentioned that there's further shutdowns happening. So, and to think about third-party delivery, those are, for me, a marketing tool. And a marketing tool for me is a short-term transaction with a third party, any third party. I'm thinking about that in a campaign mentality. And so I would absolutely pay 30% for the first time, second time, third time to get a new customer. And every single time I'm remarketing to that customer. So think about, we talked about the QR code on the to-go container that then is the video of Ken and Doris making the dumplings and saying, and if you came directly to our site as small business owners, it would be another level of support that would be so appreciative to us and our family and all that. They go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. There's two optionalities. One is a much bigger jump. If somebody likes getting food delivered to their door, going and picking up, they may or may not do that. Or 1 out of 3 times they could do that. But 1 out of 3 changes the economics for you. The other thing is if they go directly to your site and then use the widget and go to DoorDash to get the delivery, that is a different charge than the 30%. Because what you're paying for in 30% is this is our customer. We own them. We're giving them to you. You're going to pay us a referral fee for that, right? So there's a couple different things. Use all of them as a marketing tool. Onboard customers, pull in customers into your funnel, and then next step, get them to come to your site and order delivery out, and then come and pick up, right? So there's multiple functionalities that you can create. So that is what Jonathan's talking about that we need to really be thinking about. And we use the chicken dumpling as the way to cultivate that. Hey, next time you order, use promo code XYZ so that you've taken them from DoorDash to your site. Now you know that you've created utility for them. They've actually done something. A call to action worked. That's hugely important for you. And then they use that promo. Well, what do they get? 1 of your $3 dumplings for free, right? Because they've done something to bring you in. So that's what Jonathan's talking about. I really want to get into that. That you have to do that. And
absolutely, the strategy that we're implementing because of further shutdown. We're signing up for all the third-party delivery platforms, and when an order comes in, every opportunity we get to convert the customer, we will. Like you mentioned, maybe 1 out of 3 of those customers will order from us directly next time. But that's better than 3 people ordering from Grubhub every single time.
Yeah, I agree on that concept. That's 100% accurate. Everybody's like, they're on point here. But there's this YouTube video. I hope, is it okay if I shout out another influencer here?
Yeah, of course, please. We'll link
Gary
it up.
Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk, right?
Yeah.
I love that guy. He's very energetic. He's very like fun to listen to. He cusses a lot, so it's like heck yeah. I don't know your rules here, but I'm not gonna cuss. So like, when I listen to Gary V, there's one show where he was with another very experienced like restaurateur, and he was talking about like the system, the strategy behind how to capture a loyal client, right? A repeat customer. So he says, strategy one, you got to get them in. In conclusion, he says you have to get these people in the door at least 3 times, right? 3 times for you to lock them down as a like loyal consumer. Mm-hmm. So even with that concept in mind, the way that we were talking about adding these promo codes and using these third-party driving applications to bring more people through. Yes, that's a good waste. It's not a waste. It's a marketing spend. That 15 to 30% that they're collecting is your marketing spend. Yep. So you build more awareness in the community, right? It's awareness. You're building that brand awareness. And once you get them to order 3 times and you finally have a solution on your site where they can order from you, they would probably go to your site instead of going to Uber or Grubhub or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that's man, you guys are super on point. I don't even know why I'm here today.
and you can extend that math, right? And then a regular, you can say, okay, if they're coming 8 to 10 to 12 times a year at an average spend of this, like you can extend the math. Then the 30% is like, yeah, it fucking sucks. Like I don't want to pay them 30%, but we're only thinking about that in the context of in perpetuity. If we're always paying 30% for that customer, you're breaking even or losing money, or then you're having to upcharge on that menu item to be able to cover that cost. Excuse me. And so that's the short-term thinking of it that I want to be like, how do we reposition them? How do we remarket to them? And yeah, maybe 2 out of 3 times they order from that site, but maybe one of those times they remember and go to our website instead and then order. That changes the economics. We've talked about it, adding $2 more because you are selling the dumplings, or excuse me, $3 more because you're selling the dumplings per piece, and somebody orders beef noodle and 1 dumpling because they just love the dumpling, but today they wanted beef noodle. Well, that additional $3 plus then one out of 3 times then coming directly to you, plus like this is the way that we're going to be able to create the value for you. Those microtransactions, they add up really, really quickly, which I think is super important. Menu on the website, I mentioned that, and Jonathan, I want to touch on this a little bit, right? We have a lot of different theories on where to put things and how to put things in boxes and color schemes and bolding on menus, and lots of them are true, and some of them we just chase our tails entirely too much and don't tell a compelling story, but we put it in the right box, so supposedly that's going to solve all our problems. It will not. It will not. Now we're talking about a vertical stack, because even when you're doing the start at desktop, move to tablet, move to mobile, what's happening is in desktop, you still have your menu organized very similarly to the way that the paper menu is organized, right? And you have the apps, and then you have the small plates, and then you have the next items. Well, what we're recognizing now is a vertical stack. So whatever the first item in the top left corner is, it goes sequentially through your menu, and that's what they see because they only see 1 item at a time in a vertical sequence.
That's true.
Now I'm thinking about that chicken dumpling buried as the 9th, 10th, 12th item on your menu. That's a huge vulnerability. To me, it has to be the number 1 item. Let's talk about that. A little bit of the functionality from purely the menu standpoint, Jonathan.
Okay. So yeah, of course, we have to think about the front end user, which is your customer, right? Like, what are they going to want first? Usually when they come to the restaurant, they order a drink and an appetizer. That's the first thing we want to upsell to them, right? Would you like a drink or an appetizer? I was in the restaurant industry for a little bit too. So I was a bartender, server, back of house manager, GM. You name it. I've filled those positions before. And then I started this agency. But anyways, so that's the first thing that the clients need to select is a drink and an appetizer, right? Usually online, they don't really buy drinks a lot, from what I've seen. So appetizers are definitely first.
That's not yet. It's coming where our arcane booze systems, liquor laws are going to change for sure. They have to. But anyway, yes, you're right.
Yes. So yeah, like just the psychology behind, you know, your local area, because everybody's different, you know, like whether it's over there in Colorado or if it's over here in Texas or in Florida somewhere, the community, the people that we cater to, they're all different. They have different tastes. They have different wants and needs and the way they look at things. So as long as you know your customers in your local area, you should be able to understand how we should funnel these people through the menu bar, right? So usually I'm not a big fan of Wix and Squarespace because they're limited. There's only so much you can do in there unless you know like full stack, you know, coding, which is like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, you know, yeah, it's just whoo, right? So if you're not
a restaurant people, we just want to make dumplings, man.
Hence the glasses, but yeah. So if you're not a full stack developer, I wouldn't really recommend using anything else other than like Squarespace and Wix because it's really easy to utilize those platforms. But you know, as a creative, as somebody like, I'm always looking for the next best thing to kind of play with and you know optimize. So I started moving into different builders and I finally landed on WordPress. And then within WordPress, I was able to use like Beaver Builder, Divi, Elementor, all these page builders, you know, and I landed on like a few best that I highly recommend within WordPress, which is Elementor, right? And so within Elementor, there's a cool function, which I don't know if Squarespace can do this, but you can change the size of your website into a mobile perspective. And you can hide categories, right? So like on desktop, if it's formatted left to right, on mobile, you can duplicate the left side and then revert it on mobile. So it's like reversed. So there's a lot more functionality in WordPress than it is in Squarespace and Wix. But, you know, once again, it's a business. So like, you know, whatever you put your money into, it's what you're going to get out of it, right? So another cool thing that I'd like to kind of explain to you is if you opened your Chrome browser, if you've never done this before, I know you have, I know you have. So, but if you've never done this before, jump on your Chrome browser, open your website, right click and go down. It's going to say inspect. If you click on inspect, you're going to see that you can, I mean, do you have a computer open?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. If you right click on Google Chrome and hit inspect on the top, you'll see something that says responsive. It's like a drop down arrow on the top. And then if you just click a mobile device on there or a tablet, you can see how your website looks without having to put it on your phone. So you can do it right there on Chrome. So this is going to help you a lot down the road as you're, you know, touching up your website, modifying your menu.
After you right click and click inspect.
Yes.
And then what do we look at to see?
So on the top below the search bar, you're going to see something that says responsive with a drop down icon. And then if you click that, you'll see iPhone, you'll see Google.
Yes.
You see that? It's really cool, right?
So this is the mobile view right here.
That is. So that's a shortcut way, so you don't have to jump on your phone and open your website. So that's one thing I'd like you to keep a note of is this will help you a lot. But taking a look.
Just last thoughts. We're gonna wrap. One more.
Yes.
This was really great. I could see the stress on their face. They're like, "What drop down? I don't know what you're talking about." I'm sorry. Stressed out because you're making me touch my website. I really appreciate that. One last thought, because I think that was really good. Just something that makes you feel like you have a little bit of control over technology, which can be a struggle again for restaurant people. One last thought. This is gold, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, so.
I know it's hard to pick one last thought.
Yes. So right now, the Meta Kitchen's website only has the landing page, which is the takeout. And before that takeout, there's a pop-up. The pop-up's cool. I like that. But within this website, there's too many redirects, meaning you click a button, it goes to a new tab, right? It's really hard to link those analytics to in the back end. But if you, for Squarespace, let's get into this one. And there's no menu. Is there a reason there's no menu here? Did you hide the menu so people can't go to your homepage or anything?
You can go to the homepage. If you look down, there's like Instagram, Facebook, Yelp. Then there's like a little link icon that links to our actual website with.
I see that.
Yeah, but
I think what we're talking about, there's the vulnerability there.
Yes.
You're forcing people to burn way too many brain cells. They're not going to do it. right?
Yeah.
And so this goes back to like the third-party delivery. You know why the third-party delivery is so successful? Because it's simple, because convenience is king, right? And what we need to recognize is you need to navigate that from a perspective of not knowing, right? You guys know everything about your website.
Right.
You guys know everything about your brand. Somebody else knows nothing about it. And so you need to make it as easy as possible and have no expectations that they need to know anything about you before they get to your site or anything about how to navigate your site. So I think it's very important for you to have that at the top of mind. It's the only thing that matters is, again, that UX, like people's ability to seamlessly, without friction, navigate and get what they want from you, right?
Yeah,
And so,
my thinking was to just take them to the landing page, so they see the pictures of the food, and then they click on takeout and order food. So that was my thinking.
sure.
That was like more important, like them ordering food than actually like going to look at our website.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. I think the menu, you need to give them the full context because they're looking at the pictures, right? We talked about they see reviews and they see the other competitors that you have in your space. And even when I just did a quick search of best Asian food Denver, it comes up in the Google form, which is what a lot of people look at, and they drop down. You're not the first 3. You need to be on that page. You guys are number 37 on there. Right. And so that's where some of the SEO stuff comes in. So making sure that people can click onto those pages, know where they're going, and navigate that seamlessly is going to help you with SEO, but also just with that UX, the user experience. So I think that's what you need to be thinking about, because even just Jonathan's just a little bit of like, wait, hold on, what do I do? Anybody has that, they're gone.
Yeah.
And if anybody's willing to get on your site and then they bounce and you have high bounce rates, like, that's a vulnerability. So I think that's what we're kind of highlighting there. So,
all right. So real quickly, I'm going to just like do everything real fast. I'm sorry.
Go.
Okay. So first things first, I will send, if you guys need some time, I will give you a like custom audit. I'll do a screen recording and I'll send it to you guys, and then you guys could share it from my perspective of things like real estate space and, you know, the conversions, the menus and all that. That's one thing. The second thing is I provided a PDF with this company here. I'm sorry.
And it looks really great.
Yes. So the PDF is for anyone that needs it.
It's linked up in the comments so people can find it.
It's in the comments. Make sure you download that, like this channel. I really love the way you guys are doing this right now. This is amazing. It's going to help a lot of people if they're able to watch this. And also, the video's coming to you. There's a PDF below. Let me know if you need anything, if you have any questions. I'm always here for you guys. So, and it was a pleasure. It was an honor coming on here. Thank you so much for the invite.
Jonathan, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Bye, guys.
All right. Cheers. All right. Yes. More. There's a pattern here. I like scare the shit out of you guys, overwhelm you, and then have somebody go, all right, hey, here's what you need to do. It's daunting as hell. There's so much that goes into this. Every little decision, just that decision. Doris, you didn't make the wrong decision. It's just there's a multitude of decisions, and you have to decide what decision is right for you. That was a lot of decides there. And you also need to get more and more in touch with your customer, more and more in tune with their needs, and how to best communicate with them is what clearly we talked about again and again through this. And in every episode, that's been it. You have to reduce the friction of communication, simplify and focus that communication. Language was a big part here. And then thinking about your brand unity, something that we didn't quite get into, but that consistency across every touch point that your customer, that your guest has with you is so, so important. So that's one of the things I want you to really think about as well is, are you consistent at every point? Are you navigating people through that experience seamlessly? So thoughts? Do you have more confidence in your ability to think about menu and websites? And again, we're going to give you some more coaching coming out of this. You know, V will follow up with you if you need that.
The perfect episode for this week because of the shutdown that's happening in Denver. Right. I've been like freaking stressing out, signing up for all these platforms. I'm thinking about having to redo my website, redo my menu. So having these experts come on the show today is really going to help me kind of elevate this whole experience. I'm a little bit less stressed now.
And ease her stress, which eases my stress.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a terrible day.
Yes, good. So important. Look, you have to navigate these things. We may not like it always. It may not be what we got into this industry for. Ken's going to run away again, just like when we talk about budget, go, you just tell me what to do. I'm just going to cook. I get it. Yet you can't be reactionary. And this is one of the things in restaurants. We are so good at being counterpunchers. We bob and weave. Whatever comes at us, we make it happen. We make it work. We fix the problems. That's what we do. We're good at that, right? We're able to adjust in the moment on the fly so quickly. That's a strength. Yet it also creates a vulnerability because we think that is the only way to go about it. We have to start to be proactive. You have to think ahead. You have to, yes, navigate like a customer would. And you have to challenge your own preconceived notions of what that is because of the ability to think on strategy and think long-term and think of the way that you're going to be on DoorDash and Grubhub and Postmates and Caviar, any of the sites. Yet you can't just use that as a, fuck it, I'm going to do it because I have to. And what else are we going to do? And we'll just pay the 30%. Use that as an opportunity to say, how do we get creative? How do we funnel them to buying directly from us? 1 out of 3 times, 2 out of 3 times. How do we get them to go to our site and click the widget versus going through the DoorDash portal, which costs us exponentially more? That's the process you need to be thinking about. And then you get the cool branded, the walk with the QR code and takes them directly to some call to action that all of you are putting together. That story, it's going to matter. All right, that's it. We're talking next is real estate. Some real estate, but talking about your 4 walls. Very, very important as we are redefining those. You're in a food hall, right? Thinking about real estate. I know that's been a struggle for you, and we're going to dig into that a little bit because it's so overwhelming, right? We think we have to get into this restaurant space and we fall so in love with them because we're such passionate people. We fall in love very quickly, right? It's one of the things we do. And then it gets swooped out, or then there's a legal document and you go, I can't read any of this. I can read Chinese better than I can read this, right? Like that's the sense that we get. And so we're going to dig into that a little bit. Guys, game 2 more episodes. I'm excited. I appreciate you guys. This has been a great journey.
Yes, for sure.
All right. And be safe and be strong through this. And we can follow up after this too if you need any further support. Andrew's already been sharing some stuff about what's happening with shutdowns and things like that. So let's talk a little bit more. See you guys through this. All right.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers.
You too.
Later.
Laters.
All right, everybody. That is a wrap for this episode. So important. Thinking about from menus to websites, it's language, it's communication, your ability to tell your story and have that equal a financial transaction. It has to start with a story. It has to start with a communication. And then we create the opportunity for that transaction. You're not selling, Ken and Doris are not selling chicken dumplings. They are selling their story. They're selling the walk. They're selling their heritage. They're selling the East Coast. They're selling Hong Kong. That is an adventure I'm willing to pay for versus the commodity of a $3 dumpling versus a $2 dumpling. Very, very important. That is it for this episode. Thank you as always, for tuning in. Cheers.